showmanship, or we'll call it communication skills now, is made up of two areas. So communication skills, it's made up of two things. The first thing it's made up of is visual image. And your visual image is the way you dress and also your body language. And this is something that we spend a lot of time on. Most of us know this. We know to dress a certain way so people perceive us a certain way. And the other thing we don't think about is body language. We don't put a lot of time into thinking about body language. That's our visual image. And when it comes to communication, there's one more area that people definitely neglect. And the second area is your vocal image. Most people haven't put any time into thinking about their vocal image. And your vocal image is the image that people form in their heads the moment you speak. The moment you reveal your vocal image is the moment you speak. Now, something fascinating, I find this really, really, really interesting, is when people see your visual image, when they see you, people make assumptions. They make assumptions about who you are. So they'll assume, oh, this person looks successful. This person seems like they're an expert. This person seems like they're friendly. They seem like they're trustworthy. So they make assumptions about who you are. Now, when you reveal your vocal image, that's when they turn these assumptions, whatever assumptions they have made, good or bad, that's when they turn the assumptions into beliefs. That's when they turn those assumptions into beliefs. When they see you visually, they're only making assumptions, but the vocal image turns those assumptions into beliefs. And that, to me, is a very powerful lesson there. Because often people never even think about their vocal image. They don't even think about how they vocally come across. They don't even think their vocal image is something they can style. Just like the way you style your hair or you style the way you dress, you can also style your vocal image to ensure you're communicating across the optimal image of you. So that's what I really want to focus on today, is that I'm going to give you some tips on visual image, body language, and also some tips on vocal image. And let's start with vocal image. We'll start with the vocal foundations. And when I teach vocal image, there's many areas of vocal image that I do teach and I share with leaders, because I believe this is the leader's instrument. The leader's instrument is their voice. Think about how you're experiencing me right now. You're experiencing me through technology, of course, but at the end of the day, the image you have of who I am as a person right now, the assumptions and beliefs you're forming about who I am as a person, is formed by my visual image and ultimately by my vocal image that you're experiencing right now. And leaders really have to get this right, because for them to be able to have more impact and more influence, they've got to get these two things right. And I hope all of you, if you've got any questions, you've got anything, please feel free to drop them in the comment section now. I'm more than happy to address them at the end. Otherwise, we'll move into the vocal foundations, all right? So when we're looking at the vocal foundations, there are 5 core areas you've got to focus on. The first area is rate of speech. Rate of speech. Imagine what happens to you if you jumped onto this live stream and for the next 45 minutes, I speak like this. You're probably thinking to yourself, I'm just going to check the Netflix tab to see what specials have come on for the comedy section. You'd probably get bored and you'd leave. So what it tells us is that any default rate of speech is bad. It's not that the slow rate of speech is bad. It's just that if you get stuck into that and you stick with that, that's bad. Any default rate of speech is terrible. Because if I speak really quickly like this and for the next 45 minutes, I'll take you through the communication skills of foundations and I speak like this and I keep going like this, is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Or even if I speak at a fairly comfortable rate of speech like this, which is fairly engaging, but I keep going like this and I don't slow down and I don't vary it at all, what happens is you start to disengage. It becomes monotonous. It becomes monotonous. Any default rate of speech, if you stick to it, becomes monotonous. So the key with rate of speech is you've got to vary your rate of speech. You've got to vary it. And here's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is if what you're saying is very important, then you slow down. There is nothing important here. But doesn't it just seem critical? It does, right? And then if it's not important, then you can just quickly gloss over it. And that rule of thumb allows you to just vary your rate of speech based on meaning. Slowing down is like a verbal highlight. This is what I want you to focus on, this right here. And all of a sudden, it breathes importance into what you've just said. That's the first foundation. Now, the second foundation, the second is volume. Volume, this is the lifeblood of your voice. And if you think of volume as having a scale of 1 to 10, most of my students, when they come to me, they tend to be speaking at around a level 3. And if I give you a level 3 right now, again, I believe in experiential learning. Imagine I did an entire virtual session or an in-person communication like this. All of a sudden, what we start to learn about volume is that when you have at least a level 5 to a 6, a 5 to a 6 here, what it shows is it shows confidence. Not only does it show confidence, it shows authority. And the very powerful thing about volume is when you inject volume into your communication as a leader is that it shows that you believe in the things that you are saying. That's the powerful quality about volume, is that it shows you believe in the things you're saying. Whereas without volume, it shows you believe in the things that you're saying. But I believe it. I believe it. No matter how hard you push without volume, it doesn't come across. And the final thing that volume really shows is it shows vitality. Confidence, authority, you believe in the things you say, and vitality. So many beautiful qualities about volume. And the reason I'm sharing the foundations with you too is often as we go through life and we meet people who are great communicators, and we maybe see them on stage, we maybe see them virtually, or wherever we meet somebody who we deem a great communicator, a great speaker, a great presenter, we tend to think to ourselves, wow, that was amazing. We think that was amazing, but we don't know why. We don't know why. What I'm doing here, teaching you the foundations, is to reveal to you the method behind the madness. So the next time you see somebody and you go, wow, they seem great, you now see the method behind the madness. You go, oh, it's because they've varied their rate of speech, they've varied their volume, for example. Which takes us to the third foundation. The third foundation, we're going to do a bit of a thought experiment with this, but the third foundation is pitch or melody. Pitch or melody. And we'll do a quick thought experiment here with you all. So I know you're home, but let's just do a quick thought experiment together. And the thought experiment is this. And if you can type, please do engage with the chat section for this part. But hold on until I ask you. So for those of you who are here, think of a book that you absolutely love, a book that you adore, that you've read multiple times. Think of a book that you have, okay? So with that book in mind, if I asked you to recite for me, word for word, one page in that book, if you can do that, just type yes. Just type yes in the chat section. Okay, good. So no one is really typing. So this is good. This is good. It means not many people can do this. This is crazy. If you can recite a full page in a book word for word without getting a word wrong, that would be crazy. But here's the thing. Let me ask you this. You can just answer this in your heads and by yourselves in front of your computer screens. You can answer me this. Is there a favorite song that you have? Do you have a favorite song that you kind of sing often? If I asked you then to recite for me word for word that song now, could you do it without getting one word wrong? The answer is probably yes. You probably can do it. So you have to ask yourself, well, what's the difference? I mean, a song has roughly 300 words. A page in the book has roughly 300 words. Why can you recite a song, yet not a page in the book? You can recite a song because a song has melody. Because a song has melody. So you've got to understand the concept that if you add more melody to your voice, what you say then becomes more memorable. One of the pillars of leadership is that if we want to be a better leader, we need to become more influential. But if you need to be more influential, the pragmatic of that is you first need to be more memorable. And if you break it down more granularly, that means you need to have more melody in your voice. Because the more melody you have, the more memorable you become. And there's another fascinating lesson to be learned here with melody. And I want you to experience it, because again, even virtually, I want you to experience this. I believe in experiential learning. I'm going to play for you a piano song. I'm not going to play it for you, but I'll just play you a piano track. And I want you to listen to this piano track. Have a listen to this. Okay, tell me, how do you feel? You can even type this. How did that song make you feel? And thank you for those who are engaging with us. Oh, we got sad, we got calm, calming. Yeah, okay, interesting. Thank you for engaging with me. I really appreciate you all. So now let's go to another song. And thank you. Melancholy, that's a good one. I love that word. Now, tell me, how does this song make you feel? Have a listen. How does that make you feel? It's different, right? Yeah, it's inspired, upbeat, hopeful, reflective, happy, calm, optimistic, joyful. Whoa, thank you for the engagement. It gets me slightly excited. Okay, brilliant. Okay, let's do one more example. How does this song make you feel? Very scary, isn't it? I love what's coming through. It's like edgy, afraid, ominous, pensive, suspenseful. You all have an incredible vocabulary. Thank you for your participation there. This is the point I wanted to make. You just heard 3 different piano songs. Those piano tracks, they had no words. How did you know how to feel? It's because underneath melody, there is a world of meaning. People feel things when you speak. This is why people say when someone walks into the room, oh, I feel like this person just lifts the room. I feel like they just come in and they're brilliant energy. What are they talking about when they say that? It's the person's melody. And there is a melody that lives underneath your voice. Under every leader's voice, there is a melody. And at the end of today, I'm going to teach you a self-awareness technique to teach you how to become conscious of, well, what melody lives underneath your voice? What melody lives underneath your voice? All right. Now, this takes us to the third foundation. The fourth foundation. And the fourth foundation is tonality. Tonality. And tonality, to explain to you simply, tonality is the emotion that lives underneath your voice. And in psychology, there are 6 core human emotions. 6 core human emotions. We've got happy, sad, angry. My handwriting is like a doctor's handwriting. Should have become a doctor. My mum would have been so proud. We've got disgust. We've got surprise. So we've got happy, sad, and fearful. Fearful. All right, these are the 6 core human emotions that are important when it comes to communication. To become a more effective communicator, we need to be able to portray the core human emotions to make our communications more effective and we have more clarity in the way we communicate. Now, when it comes to tonality, it means that the emotions that live underneath our words, there are 6 types. 6 types that you can see here. Happy, sad, angry, disgust, surprise, and fearful. The question then is, how do we inject emotion into the way we speak? And this is what people often say is empathy. Because empathy is when we come across, we inject more emotion into our words. So people go, oh, this person seems like they're empathetic to my situation, which is mastering tonality. So how do we inject happy into the way that we sound, into our words? And the answer is simple. And I genuinely want you to try this. So just try this at home. And if you're in the office, people will think you're strange, but just try this. I want you to make a really happy face. Just genuinely, please make a very happy face. Okay, don't go serial killer on me, but just a happy face. And when you do the happy face, I want you in a moment, as I count down from 3, we'll say, good morning, everyone. Okay, so happy face in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone. Okay, cool. Now try this. Please genuinely try this. Do a disgust face. A disgust face, like, oh. For me, it just become a dad, and it's kind of like when you're changing nappies and you get poo on your fingers. And then the face you make when there's poo on your fingers. So then, sorry to disgust you all, it's R-rated at 9 a.m. in the morning. But make sure, in the moment, disgusted face, and we'll say good morning, everyone. So, So in 3, 2, 1, good morning, everyone. Disgusted, right? So what that tells us is, what that tells us is your face is the remote control that you can control to inject different emotions into your words. Your face is the remote control. Now, what happens? What happens when we don't think about our facial expressions? Is we get stuck in a default face. Oh yes, a default face. And I will tell you, the default face is otherwise known as an RBF. Oh yeah, I won't abbreviate, I won't tell you what the abbreviation stands for, but an RBF, resting something face. And then all of a sudden gives us a bit of a certain tonality, doesn't it? So again, being aware of tonality helps us become a more effective communicator and helps us avoid that default face. And there are 6 core human emotions here, and paired with that is 6 facial expressions. Now, the final foundation here is simple yet powerful. Pause. The final one out of the 5 is the pause. It's frightening, isn't it? Most people are afraid of this. However, it's one of the most powerful foundations ever, because the qualities of the pause allow the following. When you pause, you give people time to process what you've just said. When you pause, you give yourself time to process what you've just said. And when you pause, you give people an opportunity to speak so you can listen. And the final thing that's powerful about the pause is when you teach your teams and your leaders to pause more, what it allows them to do is it allows them to get rid of all the ums and the ahs and the filler words. This is probably the one thing that I've noticed in leaders that takes so much away from their credibility. The ums and the ahs and the filler words, the do you know what I mean? These things, it's like you're playing a piano and you're playing beautifully. You're playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and you're going da, 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 da. It's horrible notes that destroy the music. And what it does when you have ums and ahs is it decreases the clarity of your message. It's verbal clutter that decreases the effectiveness of your leadership and the clarity of your message. So when you pause more and you get more comfortable with, it helps you get rid of those ums and ahs, because people go, oh, well, when I feel like saying an and an ah, what do? You replace it with a pause. You replace it with a pause. You see, these are the vocal foundations. And while it comes across as being simple, it's not easy to master. If you can master these 5 core things, this is what the great speakers you see do. This is what the great presenters you see do. This is all they're doing. This is all they're doing. This is the 5 core foundations. This is all that they're doing. Now you can see the method behind the madness, so you can begin your journey to become a more masterful communicator. Now, this is how we kind of style ourselves vocally. What's important now is, what about visually? So when you're looking at visual image, there's many areas to body language. There's posture, you've got eye contact, again, facial expressions, you've also got movement. But the area we're going to focus on today is what most people tend to be afraid of. And most people tend to, often when they speak, they go, I don't know what to do with these things. What do I do with these? You know, this is classic spirit fingers here. But people tend to be afraid. And I'll pick on the men first. Men tend to, you know what men do when they don't know what to do with their hands? They go into their pockets. Yeah, they go into their pockets. And then they get a bit comfortable here. And once they get comfortable within their pockets, what do they do with their hands when they get kind of excited? They move their hands about. And it's ridiculous. People go, what's happening? What are they doing? Are they trying to find keys? And then what about the women? I'll pick on the women here as well. Women, when you don't know what to do with your hands, what do? You either place them on your hips, and then you swing the hips to gesture, or often men and women tend to sometimes just fold their arms. So let's once and for all learn the foundations to hand gestures, because hand gestures, why learn hand gestures? Because hand gestures increase the clarity of your message. So notice how I just kind of said increase the clarity, and I did this. Imagine I said the same thing. Hand gestures will help you increase the clarity of your message. Which one was more effective? Which piece of communication felt more effective? With hand gestures, because our body language is there to support what we're saying. It's there to support what we're saying. Now, when it comes to learning hand gestures, I hope you're getting really excited by this, because, I mean, hand gestures, let's learn the foundations for them finally. There was a lady named Virginia Satir, and Virginia Satir is a family therapist. And she came up with the foundations to hand gestures because she realized that people were more honest about they were more honest with their body language when they came in to see her. She was, again, a family therapist. She found that the families were more honest with their hand gestures than they were with their words, which then she gave birth to the Satir categories. That's what it's called. She calls them the Satir categories. Satir categories. Now, conveniently, there are also 5 core foundational hand gestures. The first one is what she calls placator. Placator. And to demonstrate for you all, placator looks like this. Hands palm facing up. This is placator. It's non-aggressive, very open. It's a great way to open a conversation. And again, remember, even if conversations are happening virtually now, all these things apply. All these things apply. So this is a wonderful opening gesture to open a kind of conversation with. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining me all virtually. I appreciate you all being here. It's a very kind of welcoming gesture. However, this gesture kind of lacks authority. Doesn't have a lot of authority here. So we need another gesture. And the second gesture is called leveler. Leveler. And as you've guessed, leveler looks like this. Hands palm face down. Please try this with me. I want you all to really try this with me. Try this with me with your hands face up and then down. So in a moment, we're going to say something together with our hands face up. We'll say good morning, everyone, like this. And then we'll say good morning, everyone, again with our hands face down. Just try it at home. No one's going to judge you. Let's give this a crack, eh? All right, here we go. So in 3, we'll do it up first. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone. We'll do it face down now. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone. Did you notice something happened to your voice? When you go down, your voice changed. The qualities of your voice had more authority. And if you did this, I hope this proves to you that your body is connected to your voice and your voice is connected to your body. And so many people are so afraid of what are people afraid of when it comes to communication? They're afraid of having a monotone voice. But what they don't realize is a monotone voice comes from a monotone body. A monotone voice comes from a monotone body. So as you move your body, it changes the qualities of your voice. So leveler, this is very powerful. And a big mistake I see many executive leaders make is, they'll finish their talk on stage or even virtually. And at the end, they'll do this. At the end, they'll go, right, are there any questions? When you do this, you say, no, I don't want any questions. So just be very careful. When you're inviting for questions, you want to use an open gesture and you go, hey, are there any questions? Notice the difference that makes? That's leveler. But there's one more gesture that's even more powerful. Please be very careful with this gesture. The next gesture is called the blamer. The blamer. And you probably guessed already, the blamer looks like this. It's pointing with your fingers like this. Very intense, very intense. Now, there's also a substitute for the blamer if you don't want to go straight to intensity, and it's the full finger point. Point with all your fingers. This is also very powerful as well. Slightly less powerful than this. Quite intimidating. And obviously, you never want to start a presentation in a way where you come out, it's good to see you. Don't dual wield. Don't dual wield. Start with placator. Now, the fourth one is called computer. And this one is a very important gesture for leaders because computer looks like this. It's kind of the thinker pose, And here's the reality of the situation is that when someone's speaking to a leader, if you don't go into the computer pose, and then the computer pose is brilliant because this is showing your peers that I'm listening, I'm being attentive, and I'm processing what you're saying, and I'm being present. Otherwise, think about it. If you came and talked to me and I didn't know what to do with my hands, I'd kind of stand here and you're talking, I'm just kind of awkward, seems a bit weird. So this is a powerful gesture to show I care, to show I'm listening, to show that I care and that I'm listening. The final gesture, the final one out of the foundations, is called distractor. Distractor. And distractor looks like this. And then you use distractor when, say, I'm talking. Looks like I'm losing some of you. Looks like some of you are losing focus. Actually, look, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the beginning. So the action for distractor was just a quick clap and then what I like to call shooing bees. So go, oh, look, I'm so sorry. I think let's start from the beginning. So distractor is used as a pattern break. It's used as a way to, you seem like you're losing your audience and you seem like you're losing the person you're communicating to. Quick pattern break brings their attention back to you so that you can reset the attention, as opposed to just keep going without trying to regain their attention. Now, very important with distractor, make sure you're still speaking when you're doing it. Otherwise, it looks like this. Otherwise, I'm losing them. Okay, Vihn taught me distractor. Kind of looks like you're doing Broadway. Yeah, don't do that. It looks ridiculous. But all of a sudden, when you add sound to it, and you go, actually, look, I'm so sorry. I think I've gone too fast with this. Let's go back to step one. All of a sudden, you can regain their attention. These are the 5 core foundations to hand gestures. Now that you've learnt a little about visual image and you've learnt a little bit about vocal image, the last process I'm going to share with you is the following. And again, I'm just calling out to all of you. If you've got any questions or anything you'd like me to share more, we are going to jump into Q&A in probably about 5 or so minutes, and looking forward to hearing from all of you. And then thank you for engaging with me in the chat section. I appreciate it. So look, the final thing I'm going to teach you is how to build self-awareness on how you currently come across auditory-wise and visually. So the process I'll teach you is called record. Record and review. Record and review is a very simple process, yet it's a very powerful process. The first step is it requires you to film a 5-minute video of yourself. So the first thing you've got to do is 5-minute video. So record a 5-minute video of you speaking. You can speak about anything. Talk about what you had for breakfast, then what you had for lunch. Talk about what you did during the day. Talk about one of your passions. The content is a little irrelevant at this point as we're fine-tuning our instrument. I want you just to record a 5-minute video. And then when you watch the video back, you're going to watch it back in 3 different ways. The first time you watch it back, this is what you do. So say you record it with your phone. Then when you first watch it back, turn the sound all the way up and then turn your phone over so you can't see yourself. Just listen to yourself auditory-wise, which is called an auditory. It's an auditory review. So as you listen to yourself, now you know the foundations to the vocal image. Listen to your rate of speech. How's my rate of speech? Am I pausing? Oh, goodness, I'm not pausing. Wow, I'm speaking so fast. Start taking notes and build some self-awareness here. This process acts like a mirror for you and your leaders to be able to look at themselves and go, oh, okay, clearly I've been doing that wrong for a while. How come no one told me my hair was sticking up from the back? This is a way for you to do it with auditory, an auditory image, right? So auditory review first. Take a bunch of notes, build self-awareness. The second time you watch it back, this is different. The second time you watch it back, grab your phone, turn the sound off, face the video to you so you can see it, and just look at yourself visually. So then obviously it's a visual. It's a visual review. Take notes. What am I doing with my hands? Am I putting in my pockets? Am I putting on my hips? Am I folding my arms? Am I doing so? Am I being weird with my hands? So just become more aware of what you're doing with your hands. So you can visually style yourself to become a more effective leader. And also check on the facial expressions too. Am I moving my face? Am I moving my face? So many people will look at someone as being charismatic or being enthusiastic because they move their face. The third thing, now this one is a bit harder because this one requires you to get the video transcribed. Get the video transcribed. Once you get the video transcribed, and when you're getting your video transcribed, you can actually check a box to say, leave in the non-words and the filler words. You can check a box that says that. So you get the video transcribed. When you get the video transcribed, go through it and read it with a highlighter. Read through it with a highlighter. And every single time you spot a non-word, highlight it. Every time you see filler words, do you know what I mean? Like, so, highlight it. Create a list of filler words, build self-awareness so that you can once and for all remove this from your language. It's decreasing the clarity of your effectiveness, of your message and your effectiveness. So ensure that you go through this process. And I promise you, 10 iterations of this will completely transform how you come across as an individual. Whether you are a salesperson, whether you're an engineer, whether you're someone in the technical space, this will completely transform your vocal and your visual image.